Hey, this is Soldier7 here reporting for Right Wing Federation, and just another video on the protests in Cuba. Although technically this video won't necessarily be about the protests in Cuba. It will technically be about certain things that I might have mentioned in the other videos, especially the previous video. So I'm probably just going to get to that. Since some of these people, like people who are, debating, what's going on in Cuba and so forth, you got some people on the left talking about the embargo and so forth. And as you know, I did mention the embargo in some of the other videos, but in this one, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. Especially in the previous one, I mentioned that the first embargo, the embargo technically started in March of 1958, before Castro took over. So technically, the first U.S. embargo on Cuba was when Batista was still in charge of Cuba, when he was still running Cuba, when he was still in power. It was, in 1958. March 1958, about 10 months at least, or 9.5 before Castro took over. So my question is to all the leftists who want to say, oh, the embargo is the reason why Cuba can't, accomplish or be successful in everything, despite the fact that there are 40 other countries that they could look at. But I'm just going to say, are you going to count that one too? That's my question for certain people who want to say that the embargo is causing harm to Cuba. Well, I'm just saying, are you going to count that embargo as well? The one that was the arms embargo that was placed in before Castro took over? Is that one considered one too? So yeah, there's that, and that's my question for that. And another one is, I also mentioned Comandante Yankee. That was the code name for a guy named William Alexander Morgan. He was an American who fought for a group called the Second National Front. It was a rebel group that was a anti-Batista movement, but it also later became an anti-Castro movement. And that's another thing I wanted to say. I think I also mentioned this in one of the previous videos, probably the one just before this one, was that not all people who were against Batista were communists, but we seem to think that, because of, Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, we think that, yeah, the anti-Batista movement was all communist. No, it wasn't. And so, if anybody wants to look that up, you can check out the other groups. There were even people who fought alongside Castro and Che who eventually turned against them when they figured out they were communists, because, as you know, while Che probably did admit it, Castro didn't right away. He didn't come out and say he was a communist right away. He even tried to say he wasn't. But whether if he was just pretending or he really wasn't a communist yet, it was just Che might have got to him or whatnot. Who knows? There's different talks about, was he really or not? Well, I think he was, for the most part he was. Even if he wasn't at first and Che just got to him, at the end of the day he was still a communist. But nevertheless, these are just things I think that are worth bringing up, even though, like I said, it's got nothing to do with the protests in Cuba. Technically, although if people are going to be debating historically about the history of Cuba, I think those are things just worth bringing up. But yeah, as for the protests in Cuba, I hope they succeed, and I hope they get the freedom that they deserve. And that's all I gotta say for right now. This is Soldier7. Thanks for listening.